Hi, so today we're going to go through an ECG and how to interpret the leads to know where they are, what they mean, so for example septal, lateral, inferior, but also what part what coronary artery is affected when we see an abnormality in that section. So the first thing I like to do, and which you need to memorise this, there isn't really any trick or anything, but you need to know where the leads are and what they're called. So for example, we've got our leads 1, our leads 2 and our leads 3, then we've got our AVR, AVL, AVF, V1 right to V6. So I like to draw this out, and then I like to put circles around what each section represents. And then from that I've got quite a few mnemonics which will make it a little bit easier. So a few tips and tricks which will tell you which coronary artery is affected when you see and depression, for example, an ST depression or an ST elevation. So the first thing I like to do once I've done my leads 1 to my V6, I've drawn this out. So I like to put a circle around my V5 and my V6. I like to put a circle around V1 and V2. So you need to, if you're a visual person, it's going to be quite easy. And then I like to label these two as well because they're in a group. And then I've got my leads 1 and my AVL. And then this bit here, and this is probably the hardest bit out of it all. So it's just these 3 here. So this is a section. And it looks a bit like a shoe, so just remember that, your left hand corner will be the one that's shaped like a shoe, and then everything else is in groups of 2. So for the first one, so our leads 1 and our AVL, that represents the lateral side, and then our leads 2, 3 and AVF is our inferior. Our V1 and our V2 is our septal, V3 and V4 is anterior, and V5 and V6 is again lateral. Okay? One thing that I didn't actually mention before was that a way that I remember where our AVR, AVL and AVF is, so how I know which one comes first and then which one comes last, is a little mnemonic. Which is Romeo likes Fiona. Now, I know it's Shrek likes Fiona, but we're going to use Romeo in this case because there's no S. So it's Romeo likes Fiona, and that's how I remember that it's AVR, AVL and AVF. Okay, now on to which right coronary arteries are affected. Another little mnemonic that I use is that I use the mnemonic Lysol, or maybe it's Liserel. So Lisa from Simpsons. The L is just on the end. I can't really think of anything else, but this is quite easy. So once you've drawn it, and if you use the mnemonic Lysol, you know it's going to be your lateral first. So it's going to be this one first, so your lateral first, then we know it's our inferior because it's LI, and then it's RS, so Lys, and then we've got RA, which is Lisa, and then we've got RL at the end. So that's a little mnemonic that I like to use. And then on to the next bit. So I like to write down Lysol. These two are grouped, so these two represent the same coronary artery, if you like. So these two are grouped. So the first one, which is our lateral lead, which is our leads 1 and AVL. So if there is any abnormality in that, then usually it's your left circumflex artery. And the way that I like to make it a little bit easier is that I write my Lysol out, and then I write CA at the beginning. So we've got our CA here, and then we've got our CA at the end. So it's CA on both sides, and both of them. So our lateral in our in our leads 1 and AVL, but also in our leads V5 and V6, which is the lateral one here, they both represent the circumflex artery. Now onto our inferior, which is our shoe-shaped section, our leads 2, 3 and AVF. Any abnormality in that would represent a blockage or some sort of pathology in the right coronary artery. So that's our RCA. You can say, so we've got our LISOL there, so we've got our CA on either sides here and here, so it's just putting an R, so bringing that back, so bringing this back here, so it's CA again, but it's putting an R at the beginning, and you can just say, you know, more people are right-handed, so that's why it's a right as opposed to a left, which we will come on to here. So RCA is right coronary artery, and that's our inferior section of the ECG. And then our middle section, if you like, is our septal and our anterior. And any defective, you know, any abnormality in the ECG will usually point towards a left anterior descending problem. So that's our LAD. So you can just say, you know, LADs are in the middle usually of, so if two girls are fighting, we will usually have a LAD that can break that fight up. That's just a silly mnemonic, but it works. And again, so that's our LAD, and that represents the left anterior descending coronary artery. So we've got our circumflex artery, our right coronary artery, left anterior descending, and our circumflex artery representing the lateral section of the ECG. I hope this was useful. Thank you for watching.